Welcome to Mystery Manor Tales. I'm your host, Evelyn Whitaker. Tonight, we embark on a thrilling journey into the world of Agatha Christie-inspired intrigue with our original story, Fatal Secret of the Silk Exchange, a Hercule Poirot Murder Mystery. Settle in with a cup of tea, dim the lights, and let the shadows of 1920s London envelop you. This is a long, relaxing tale perfect for unwinding. Over 90 minutes of suspenseful narration. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more cozy mysteries. And tell me in the comments, where are you listening from tonight? Is it a rainy evening in London, or perhaps a quiet night in New York? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Invitation to the Exchange. In the autumn of 1925, London was a city of contrasts. By day, its streets bustled with the clatter of horse-drawn cabs and the hum of newfangled motor cars, while by night, a thick fog rolled in from the Thames, cloaking the city in an ethereal veil. Gaslights flickered like cautious sentinels, casting long shadows that danced across the cobblestones. It was in this enigmatic world, where secrets hid in every alley, that the Silk Exchange stood as a monument to wealth and ambition. Not a mere marketplace, but a cathedral of commerce. Its towering facade was a masterpiece of Art Deco grandeur, columns carved with delicate silkworm motifs, windows that gleamed like polished opals, and chandeliers within that shimmered like constellations trapped in crystal. The Exchange was the heart of London's silk trade, where fortunes were spun from the delicate threads imported from Shanghai, Bombay, and beyond. Yet whispers in the city's salons spoke of darker threads woven into its legacy: rivalries, betrayals, and a secret so perilous it was said to be fatal. On a particularly chilly evening in his elegant apartment at Whitehaven Mansions, Monsieur Hercule Poirot sat by a crackling fire, his small, precise hands cradling a steaming tisane of his own meticulous blend, jasmine with a whisper of chamomile. Most curious. One does not summon Hercule Poirot for trifles, George. His voice, a melodic blend of French precision and English clarity, held a spark of intrigue. The letter was brief but commanding, an invitation to a private gala at the Silk Exchange the following evening, where a momentous announcement would be made. Sir Reginald requested Poirot's presence, hinting at matters of utmost discretion. The detective's gray cells stirred, for he had heard the rumors, tensions among the Exchange's elite, whispers of embezzlement, and a shadowy, fatal secret that could unravel the empire of silk. "George," Poirot declared, rising with the grace of a man half his age, "prepare my finest evening attire. Tomorrow, we venture into the web of the Silk Exchange. I suspect it will be most illuminating." The next evening, as the fog thickened over London, Poirot arrived at the Silk Exchange in a sleek black taxi. His patent leather shoes clicked on the marble steps, his ebony cane tapping a rhythm of purpose. The gala was a vision of opulence. The grand hall glowed with golden light, its tapestries depicting ancient silk roots shimmering under chandeliers. Ladies in gowns of flowing silk rustled like autumn leaves, their laughter mingling with the clink of champagne flutes. Gentlemen in tailcoats puffed on cigars, their conversations a low hum of power and privilege. Waiters glided silently, their trays laden with delicacies, oysters from Whitstable, canapes adorned with caviar. Yet beneath the splendor, Poirot sensed an undercurrent of unease, like a thread pulled too tight. Sir Reginald Hargrove greeted him at the entrance, a bear of a man with a ruddy complexion and a laugh that boomed like cannon fire. His eyes, however, held a glint of steel, betraying a mind ever calculating. "Monsieur Poirot, your presence honors us. Tonight we unveil a merger that will redefine the silk trade, a union of empires." His enthusiasm felt forced, and Poirot noted the slight tremor in it. Rewrite the ledgers of his fate. A man with secrets, Poirot mused, and perhaps a grudge. Miss Amelia Voss, a young silk importer from Shanghai, moved through the crowd like a breeze, her emerald silk dress catching the light like a dragonfly's wing. Her laughter was bright, but her eyes held a fierce determination. Sir Reginald had blocked her family's expansion into the London market, threatening their livelihood. Her knowledge of the silk trade and its less savory undercurrents made her a formidable figure. Did ambition drive her to desperation? Captain Harold Beaumont, a retired military man and investor, stood apart, his scarred cheek a testament to battles in distant colonies. His broad shoulders strained against his tailcoat, and his scowl spoke of losses, financial and personal. Sir Reginald's poor investment advice had sunk Beaumont's savings into failing silk futures, leaving him bitter. His military precision suggested a man capable of calculated vengeance, Poirot noted, his cane tapping thoughtfully. Finally, Dr. Leonard Fairfax, the exchange's physician and silent partner, hovered at the edges, a gaunt figure with a perpetual frown. His medical bag rested at his feet, a reminder of his trade. Whispers linked him to Sir Reginald's opium smuggling, hidden within silk shipments, a secret Fairfax could use for blackmail, or one that could destroy him if exposed. His nervous glance at Poirot suggested a man haunted by more than patient's ailments. As the evening unfolded, Poirot circulated among the guests, his ears attuned to every whisper, his eyes catching every glance. Lady Victoria excused herself briefly, her choker catching on her gown as she brushed past Thorne. Thorne lingered near the grand staircase, his gaze fixed on the heavy oak door leading to the basement vault, the exchange's impenetrable heart, where Sir Reginald stored his most valuable documents. Amelia Voss laughed too loudly at a merchant's joke, her hand grazing Captain Beaumont's arm before he pulled away, his scar twitching. Dr. Fairfax slipped a folded note into Sir Reginald's pocket, his movements swift but not swift enough, and Hercule Poirot's little gray cells would face one of their most perplexing challenges yet. A murder in a room locked from within, where no one could enter, and no one could escape. Chapter 2. Whispers in the Fog. The gala at the Silk Exchange was in full splendor, its grand hall a tapestry of light and sound. Chandeliers cast golden beams across the polished marble floor, where couples swayed to the strains of a string quartet playing a wistful waltz. The air was thick with the scent of tuberose perfume, cigar smoke, and the faint musk of aged silk, draped in opulent displays along the walls. Hercule Poirot, ever the observer, moved through the crowd like a shadow, his keen gray eyes noting every detail. The way a lady's fan fluttered too quickly, betraying nerves. The guarded whispers between merchants by the champagne table. The subtle clench of a fist as a toast was raised. The evening was a delicate dance of appearances, but Poirot sensed the threads of discord beneath. As midnight approached, the mood shifted. Sir Reginald Hargrove, the burly chairman of the exchange, stood at the top of the grand staircase, his ruddy face flushed with champagne and pride. His voice boomed over the crowd, silencing the quartet. "My friends, tonight marks a new era for the Silk Exchange. In moments, I shall retire to the vault below to secure documents for a historic merger, one that will bind our fortunes to the great silk markets of the East." His words were met with applause, but Poirot noted the undercurrents. Lady Victoria Hargrove's forced smile, her pearl choker glinting like a noose. Elias Thorne's spectacles catching the light as he scowled. Amelia Voss's elegant wave masking a flicker of defiance. Captain Harold Beaumont clapped stiffly, his scarred cheek twitching, while Dr. Leonard Fairfax lingered at the edges, his gaunt face unreadable. Sir Reginald descended the marble stairs alone, his heavy footsteps echoing as he approached the oak door to the basement vault. A fortress within the fortress. The vault was legendary, its steel walls 3 feet thick, its combination lock review ledgers, though Poirot noted the nervous tap of his fountain pen. Amelia Voss danced with a young merchant, her laughter bright, but her eyes darting toward the basement door. Captain Beaumont stood on the balcony, puffing a cigar, his silhouette stark against the foggy night. Dr. Fairfax, pleading a headache, retreated to the cloakroom, but Poirot had seen him slip a folded note into Sir Reginald's pocket earlier, a gesture too deliberate to ignore. An hour passed, the quartet now playing a slower, mournful tune. The fog outside thickened, seeping through the cracks of the exchange's grand windows, casting ghostly wisps across the floor. Poirot sipped a glass of mineral water, his mind weaving the threads of observation into a pattern yet unclear. Then, a piercing scream shattered the elegance, slicing through the music like a blade. It was Lady Victoria, emerging from the staircase, her face ashen, her hands trembling. "Reginald," she cried, her voice raw with panic. He's dead." The guests surged toward the staircase, a tide of silk and satin, their murmurs rising to a cacophony. Poirot, with the agility of a much younger man, was among the first to descend, his cane tapping a steady rhythm. The oak door to the vault remained shut, its bolt engaged from the inside, the combination lock untouched. Through the narrow viewing slit, a grim tableau was visible. Sir Reginald slumped over his desk, his face a ghastly purple, a silk scarf from his prized Persian collection knotted tightly around his neck. The room was pristine. No signs of struggle. No weapons save the scarf. No footprints in the faint dust of silk fibers on the floor. The merger documents lay scattered but intact, and a cryptic note in Sir Reginald's hand rested beside him. "The fatal secret dies with me." "Murder," Lady Victoria gasped, clutching Poirot's arm. "But how? The vault is locked. No one could enter." Her pearl choker seemed to tighten. Scarf. Inspector Japp, Poirot's old friend from Scotland Yard, arrived with a small team, his weathered face creased with exasperation. "Blimey, Poirot, you've landed us in another fine mess. Vault's tight as a drum. No one's been in or out since Hargrove entered. We'll have to break the door down." The lock was forced, its mechanism ruined, revealing the vault's interior exactly as seen through the slit. Sir Reginald's body was cold, the scarf's knot expertly tied, a signature of intent. The desk held ledgers, silk samples, and the note, but no other clues, at least none immediately apparent. A faint smudge of silk dust near the desk caught Poirot's eye. Too faint for a footprint, but suggestive of movement. A red herring, perhaps, or a thread to unravel. Japp questioned the suspects briefly that night, their alibis forming a fragile web. Lady Victoria claimed she was in the powder room, adjusting her gown. Thorne swore he was in the library, poring over ledgers, with a junior clerk to vouch for him. Amelia Voss had been dancing, her partners confirming her presence. Beaumont was on the balcony, his cigar smoke witnessed by others. Fairfax insisted he was in the cloakroom, nursing his headache. Yet, alibis, Poirot knew, could be woven as easily as silk, and just as easily torn. Poirot stood in the vault's doorway, his small frame silhouetted against the flickering gaslight. The crowd dispersed, their whispers fading into the fog outside. But the detective remained, his mind a loom of logic. The scarf was the murder weapon, but how it had been placed around Sir Reginald's neck in a sealed room. The note spoke of a fatal secret, but was it a confession, a taunt, or a forgery? And the missing pearl from Lady Victoria's choker, had it fallen here or elsewhere? The little gray cells hummed, sensing a puzzle as intricate as the silk patterns adorning the exchange's walls. As the clock struck 1, Poirot turned to Japp. "Inspector, this is no ordinary crime. The vault is a locked room, yes, but the mind of Hercule." The morning mist joined Poirot at the vault's entrance. The heavy oak door, now splintered from being forced open, hung ajar, revealing the steel-walled chamber within. Sir Reginald Hargrove's body had been removed for examination, but the scene remained untouched. A mahogany desk strewn with merger documents, shelves lined with silk samples in hues of sapphire and crimson, and the Persian scarf, now in police custody, that had strangled its owner. The vault was a fortress of solitude, its combination lock ruined but still bearing the weight of its secrets. No windows, no vents, no hidden panels. Only the narrow viewing slit, barely wide enough for a letter, mocked the possibility of entry. "Blimey, Poirot," Japp grumbled, scratching his weathered cheek. "This is one for the books, locked tight, bolted from the inside, and yet Hargrove's dead as a doornail. Strangled, no less, with his own scarf. It's like something out of those penny dreadfuls." Poirot's mustache twitched, his gray eyes gleaming with purpose. "Non, Inspector. The impossible is merely a challenge to the little gray cells. This is no fiction, but a puzzle of logic. The scarf, the lock, the note. They speak if we listen." He gestured to the desk, where the cryptic note, "The fatal secret dies with me," lay under police scrutiny. The ink was Sir Reginald's, but the pressure of the pen suggested haste, or perhaps coercion. A clue, or a red herring? Poirot began his examination, his movements precise as a watchmaker's. The vault's floor, dusted with fine silk fibers from years of handling, bore no clear footprints, but a faint smudge near the desk caught his eye. Too vague to identify, yet suggestive of movement. The scarf, he recalled, was from a rare Persian batch, its intricate weave a status symbol among the exchange's elite. Each suspect owned one, a gift from Sir Reginald himself, making it a common thread, yet a deliberate choice. The merger documents, scattered but intact, detailed a partnership replaced by a somber gray dress, But the pearl choker remained, its missing gem a silent accusation. Reginald was a tyrant, she admitted, her voice trembling like a plucked string. His affairs, his reckless spending, they humiliated me. But murder? I was in the powder room when he went to the vault. I only found him when I went to check. Oh, the horror. Her hands fluttered to her throat, and Poirot noted the faint bruise beneath her choker, as if it had been worn too tightly. A motive of betrayal, perhaps, but the pearl. Had she been in the vault earlier? Elias Thorne, the accountant, sat rigid, his spectacles glinting with defiance. So Reginald accused me of embezzling, he said, his voice sharp as a ledger's edge. He was the one cooking the books, hiding losses in bad trades. I have proof. My ledgers are clean. I was in the library all evening. Ask the clerk. Poirot's eyes lingered on Thorne's cuffs, stained with fresh ink, and a faint tremor in his fingers. A man of numbers, but numbers could lie. Was his alibi too perfect? Amelia Voss, the young importer from Shanghai, leaned forward, her emerald silk scarf draped over her shoulders like a challenge. Reginald blocked my family's expansion, she said, her accent a soft lilt masking steel. He undercut our prices, threatened ruin. But strangle him? I'm no brute. I was dancing, surrounded by guests. Her gloves were spotless, but Poirot recalled her expertise in knots from her family's shipping trade. A silk thread clung to her shoe, matching the vault's carpet. A clue? Or coincidence? Captain Harold Beaumont, his military bearing stiff, glared across the table. That cad cost me everything, he growled, his scar twitching like a live wire. His investment tips sank my savings in silk futures. I'd have faced him like a man, not skulked with a scarf. I was on the balcony, smoking. Others saw me. His hands, calloused from years of combat, could easily have tied a fatal knot. Champagne glass, discovered on a side table in the vault, raised eyebrows. Tests later showed it harmless, a classic red herring. But its presence gnawed at Poirot. Why place a false clue? Poirot stepped back, his hands clasped behind him, his mind weaving the threads. The scarf's knot was intricate, a silk exchange knot used in trade, known to all suspects but requiring skill. The vault's lock was untouched, the bolt engaged from within. How had the killer entered, or had they never left? The note's message suggested Sir Reginald knew his fate, but its ink was too fresh, as if written under duress. And the ether scent on Fairfax, could it have been used to subdue the victim? Yet the vault had no vents for gas. The puzzle was maddening, but Poirot thrived on such challenges. Mes amis, he addressed the suspects, his voice soft but piercing. Each of you carries a motive, a shadow of guilt. But the truth lies in the details. The pearl, the thread, the note. Hercule Poirot will unravel this web, and the killer will not escape. The suspects shifted uncomfortably, their eyes avoiding his gaze, as the storm outside rumbled closer. Chapter 4. Shadows of Deception. The morning after the murder, London was cloaked in a fog so dense it seemed to swallow sound itself. The Silk Exchange, once a beacon of opulence, now stood like a mausoleum, its Art Deco facade dulled by the gray light. Inside, the air was thick with suspicion, the grand hall's tapestries seeming to whisper secrets of ancient silk roots. Hercule Poirot, his impeccable suit a stark contrast to the gloom, stood in the boardroom, his gray eyes scanning the 5 suspects who sat like statues around the table. The investigation was deepening, and the little gray cells were humming, sorting truth from deception. The locked vault, with its impregnable steel walls and single-bolted door, mocked logic. Yet a man was dead, strangled by a Persian silk scarf, and the truth lay hidden in the shadows. Poirot's investigation emerged. A silk handkerchief monogrammed with Elias Thorne's initials, tucked between the pages. Curious, Poirot murmured. A token of affection, or a planted clue? Lady Victoria blushed, insisting it was a gift from years ago, but her bruise, faintly visible beneath her choker, suggested recent turmoil. Had she visited the vault before the gala, dropping the pearl? Next, Poirot ventured to Elias Thorne's cramped office in the Exchange's East Wing, where ledgers were stacked like tombstones. Thorne, his spectacles glinting nervously, was sorting papers with ink-stained fingers. "I'm innocent, Poirot," he snapped. "Reginald framed me for his own fraud. Look at these." He thrust forward a ledger showing discrepancies in silk shipments. But Poirot's keen eye spotted a hidden compartment in the desk, containing a partial vault combination code. 3 digits, not enough to unlock it. "This was planted," Thorne protested, but his voice wavered. The inkstains were fresh, and a faint silk thread clung to his cuff, matching the vault's carpet. Clue or misdirection? Poirot noted Thorne's late-night library alibi, but the clerk's testimony was vague, mentioning only a shadowy figure nearby. Amelia Voss' warehouse at the London docks was a labyrinth of silk bales, the air heavy with the scent of exotic spices and salt. She met Poirot in a crimson silk dress, her confidence a stark contrast to the chaos of crates. "Reginald ruined my family," she admitted, leading him to a bale with a false bottom, revealing traces of opium residue. "He forced us into his smuggling scheme, then betrayed us to rivals in Shanghai." Her motive was clear: revenge, but her alibi held, with multiple guests confirming her dancing at the gala. Yet Poirot spotted a silk thread on her shoe, identical to the vault's carpet, and her hands, though gloved, bore faint calluses from knot tying, a skill from her shipping days. "A sailor's knot, mademoiselle?" Poirot mused, recalling the scarf's intricate tie. Voss smiled thinly. "A trade necessity, nothing more." Whispered, his eyes haunted. "He smuggled opium in silk bales, threatened to expose me unless I stayed silent." Poirot's nose twitched at the ether scent. Could it have been used in the vault? But the lack of vents dismissed the idea. A clue emerged. A fishing line in Fairfax's bag, fine but strong, alongside a vial of sedative. For patience, he insisted, but his trembling hands betrayed fear. Had he slipped the note into Sir Reginald's pocket to distract, or to confess? Back at the Exchange, Poirot and Inspector Japp reviewed the clues. The pearl, now confirmed as Lady Victoria's, suggested a prior visit to the vault, but her maid swore she'd been upstairs. The silk thread on Voss's shoe and Thornton's cuff tied them to the scene, but both claimed it was from earlier visits. The torn paper with Exchange betrayal hinted at a deeper conspiracy, perhaps tied to the missing merger page. The poisoned champagne glass, though harmless, was a deliberate misdirection. Placed by whom? And the smudge in the vault, too faint for a footprint, suggested a subtle disturbance. Poirot paced, his cane tapping rhythmically. "The scarf's knot is the key," he murmured. "It requires skill, intent." But how was it placed in a locked room? A twist emerged. An anonymous letter, delivered to Poirot's hotel that afternoon, claimed the fatal secret was a forged will, disinheriting Lady Victoria in favor of a mysterious beneficiary. The handwriting was unfamiliar, the paper cheap. A red herring or a genuine clue? Poirot tucked it away, his mind spinning. The suspects' alibis were fraying. Thornton's clerk admitted to dozing. Voss's dance partners were distracted. Beaumont's balcony was briefly unwatched. Fairfax's cloakroom was unverified. And Lady Victoria's maid seemed overly loyal. The web tightened, but the truth remained elusive. "Monsieur Japp," Poirot said, his voice soft but resolute. "We are in the shadows of deception." The boardroom, his face grim, clutching a stack of forged ledgers. "Poirot, we've got Thorne dead to rights," he declared, slamming the papers down. The ledgers found in Elias Thorne's office showed siphoned funds from the exchange, neatly disguised as trade losses. Thorne, summoned from his nervous pacing, turned ashen. "This is a frame-up," he protested, his spectacles slipping down his nose. "Reginald planted these to ruin me." Poirot examined the ledgers, noting the ink, too fresh, the handwriting too precise, as if crafted post-mortem. "No, Inspector," Poirot said softly, his mustache twitching. "This is a red herring, meant to distract. The ink betrays its youth. Release Monsieur Thorne, but watch him closely." Thorne's release sparked accusations. Amelia Voss, her emerald silk scarf draped defiantly, pointed at him in the boardroom. "You had the combination code, Elias. You were in the library, steps from the vault," Thorne fired back. "And you, Miss Voss, with your opium connections. Did you slip something into his drink?" The room crackled with suspicion, but Poirot raised a hand, his voice a calm anchor. "Accusations weave chaos, not truth. Let us seek the facts." A new twist emerged. A groundskeeper reported hearing a faint click near the vault door before the scream, suggesting someone tampered with the lock. Poirot and Japp inspected the vault again, finding no evidence of a trick mechanism. Another false lead? Yet the viewing slit, narrow as a letter slot, nagged at Poirot. Could a tool have been inserted? The slit was too small for a scarf, but perhaps for something else. A wire, a gas. He dismissed the thought. The vault's air was clean, save for the faint ether scent he'd noted on Dr. Fairfax. A clue, or another deception? Poirot's inquiries led him back to the suspects, each revealing cracks in their facades. Lady Victoria Hargrove, summoned to the exchange, was visibly shaken, her pearl choker now replaced by a velvet ribbon. "Speak." Revealed Voss had met a shadowy figure the night before the gala, discussing the exchange's downfall. Voss, when questioned, admitted to negotiating with a rival importer, but swore it was business, not murder. "Reginald's death hurts us more, he was our leverage," she insisted. Poirot found a shipping manifest in her office, listing a silk bale delivered to the exchange days before the murder, marked special handling. Inside, a hidden compartment was empty. Had it held opium, or something more sinister? Her knot-tying skill lingered in Poirot's mind, the scarf's knot a silent accusation. Dr. Leonard Fairfax's clinic offered a chilling discovery. A vial of sedative was missing from his bag, and his fishing line, fine but strong, matched a faint fiber caught in the vault's viewing slit. "For my patience," Fairfax stammered, his gaunt face sweating. "I fished to relax, nothing more." But Poirot's nose detected ether again, stronger now, and a medical journal on his desk discussed gaseous sedatives. Could Fairfax have devised a way to drug Sir Reginald remotely? The vault's lack of vents dismissed the idea, but the fiber was troubling. A red herring, or a thread to the truth? The anonymous letter about the forged will resurfaced, complicating the puzzle. Japp traced it to a cheap stationer's shop near the docks, frequented by Voss's workers. Was it her doing, or another's attempt to frame her? Poirot examined the note again. Exchange betrayal suggested a motive beyond personal grudges, perhaps a corporate conspiracy tied to the merger. The missing merger page, he learned, contained names of foreign investors, one linked to opium smuggling. Had Sir Reginald planned to expose someone, prompting his murder? A shocking twist shook the investigation. A second crime. Poirot's tisane, delivered to his hotel that morning, was laced with a mild poison, non-lethal but a warning. Japp traced the delivery to a courier service used by Beaumont's military contacts. "A prank," Beaumont roared, but his alibi for the morning was shaky. He'd been walking in the fog. Poirot's gray cells whirred. Was this an attempt to silence him, or a desperate distraction? Send. The smudge in the vault suggested movement, but no footprints. The pearl tied Lady Victoria to the scene, yet her confession muddied the waters. The fiber in the slit pointed to Fairfax, but the method remained elusive. And the poison tisane, Beaumont's doing, or a collective effort to derail the investigation? The truth was close, but the shadows of deception were deeper still. Chapter 6. The Hidden Knot. The third day of the investigation brought a tempest to London, its gales rattling the windows of the Silk Exchange like the restless spirits of its secrets. The Grand Hall, stripped of its gala splendor, was now a battleground of suspicion, its tapestries of ancient silk roots seeming to pulse with unspoken truths. Hercule Poirot stood in the vault's doorway, his small frame a beacon of order amidst the chaos. The murder of Sir Reginald Hargrove, strangled by a Persian silk scarf in a locked, impenetrable vault, remained a puzzle that mocked logic. The clues, a pearl, a silk thread, a cryptic note, a smudge of dust, a poisoned glass, wove a tapestry of contradiction. But Poirot's little gray cells were threading closer to the truth. Poirot began the day with a meticulous re-examination of the vault, now cordoned off by Inspector Japp's men. The steel walls gleamed coldly. The mahogany desk still bore the scattered merger documents, and the air held a faint trace of silk dust, like whispers of the crime. The viewing slit, narrow as a blade, taunted him, too small for a scarf, yet the fiber caught there, matching Dr. Fairfax's fishing line, nagged at his mind. The scarf's knot, a silk exchange knot known to all suspects, was a work of art, requiring precision and strength. Poirot traced its loops with a gloved finger, murmuring, "This knot is the heart of the mystery. It speaks of intent, of knowledge, but how was it tied in a sealed tomb?" A new clue emerged, the smudge in the silk dust. Previously vague, was measured and found to match the size of Amelia Voss's delicate shoe. With panic. But Poirot spotted a smudged fingerprint on the paper, not Thorne's, suggesting another's hand. A clue, or another misdirection. Thorne's ink-stained cuffs, now paired with a nervous tick, hinted at secrets beyond embezzlement. Lady Victoria Hargrove's confession of her affair with Dr. Fairfax deepened the web. Poirot met her in the Exchange's rose garden, where rain-soaked petals clung to her gray coat. "Reginald used my indiscretion to control me," she whispered, her velvet ribbon replacing the pearl choker. "But I swear I was upstairs." Poirot found a silk bookmark in her purse, identical to one in the vault, embroidered with a silkworm motif. A gift from Reginald, she claimed, but her bruised neck suggested recent violence. Had she confronted her husband, dropping the pearl in a struggle? A red herring. A maid reported seeing Lady Victoria near the vault stairs earlier that week, but she claimed it was to discuss finances. Captain Harold Beaumont's military past came under scrutiny. At his club, Poirot learned of his expertise in silent kills, including strangulation techniques from colonial campaigns. The cigarette butt near the vault stairs, stamped with his brand, placed him closer to the crime than his balcony alibi allowed. "I tossed it while passing," Beaumont growled, his scar twitching. But a new twist emerged. A witness saw him arguing with Sir Reginald days before, over a bounced check tied to the failed silk futures. Was his rage personal, or part of a larger plot? The garrote wire, though irrelevant to the scarf, hinted at his capacity for violence. Dr. Leonard Fairfax's clinic yielded a chilling discovery. A second vial of sedative was missing, and a medical journal page was bookmarked, detailing ether's use in confined spaces. Poirot confronted Fairfax, whose gaunt face crumpled. "I used ether for my headaches," he stammered. But the fishing line in his bag, matching the vault's fiber, suggested more to Beaumont's military contacts. But the man claimed he was hired anonymously. Poirot's near poisoning suggested the killer was watching, desperate to derail him. A warning, Poirot mused, or a sign of fear. He gathered the suspects in the boardroom, the storm outside mirroring their unease. "The threads entangle," he said, his voice a blade of calm. "The knot, the fiber, the poison. Each points to a mind both cunning and desperate. One of you has woven this crime, but the weave is fraying." A final twist shook the room. Voss fled the Exchange that afternoon, caught by Jap at the docks. "I was scared," she cried, her scarf slipping to reveal a bruise on her wrist. She claimed fear of being framed, but Poirot noted her packed bag included a silk sample identical to the murder weapon. Was she running from guilt or danger? Thorne, meanwhile, whispered to Poirot of a secret meeting with Voss before the gala, discussing mutual interests against Sir Reginald. An alliance or a double cross? The suspects' glances, Fairfax to Lady Victoria, Beaumont to the floor, betrayed a web of hidden loyalties. Poirot stood by the tapestry of a silk caravan, his cane tapping slowly. The vault's impossibility gnawed at him. The scarf's knot, the locked door, the fiber in the slit. The pearl tied Lady Victoria, the thread Voss, the fiber Fairfax, the cigarette Beaumont, the ledgers Thorne. The poisoned tisane suggested a collective fear, but the forged note hinted at a singular mind. "The truth is near," Poirot murmured, his gray cells weaving the clues into a pattern. The storm raged, and the hidden knot was loosening, ready to reveal its maker. Chapter 7. Unraveling Lies. The fourth day of the investigation dawned with the storm unabated, its gales howling through London's streets like the cries of unquiet spirits. The Silk Exchange stood resolute, its Art Deco facade battered by rain. Its grasp widened, her hands clutching her purse. I went to discuss finances days before, she stammered. The pearl must have fallen then. But Poirot produced the silk bookmark from her purse, its silkworm motif identical to one found near the desk. A coincidence? Or a trace of your presence at the crime? Her denial was firm, but her trembling fingers betrayed fear. A red herring. The maid's testimony of seeing her near the vault was vague, mentioning only a lady in blue, possibly another guest. Elias Thorne's interrogation took place in his office, where ledgers lay scattered like fallen leaves. The partial vault code found in his desk, now joined by a second fragment, drew Poirot's scrutiny. Monsieur Thorne, these codes suggest access, yet they are incomplete. Who planted them? Thorne's spectacles glinted as he protested. I'm being framed. Reginald hid his fraud in my ledgers. Poirot noted the fingerprint on the second code, not Thorne's, and a faint ink smudge on his cuff matching the vault's note. A clue, or another misdirection. Thorne's library alibi was further weakened when the clerk admitted to hearing whispers near the staircase that night, not just Thorne's pen scratching. Someone was there, the clerk muttered, casting doubt on Thorne's solitude. Amelia Voss, still shaken from her brief flight, met Poirot at the docks, where rain drummed on the warehouse roof. Her emerald scarf was absent, replaced by a plain shawl, but her calloused hands betrayed her knot-tying skill. The silk thread on my shoe was from a delivery, she insisted, producing a manifest to prove it. But Poirot found a discrepancy. The special handling bale had been opened the day of the gala, not earlier. What did it contain, mademoiselle? Opium, or something more deadly? Voss' eyes flashed. Nothing. It was empty when delivered. Her alliance with Thorne, hinted at previously, was confirmed by a dock worker who saw them whispering before the gala. A shared grudge, or a shared crime, a red herring. The groundskeeper's click near the vault was traced to a loose hinge, not tampering, Fairfax admitted, his gaunt face sweating. The ether was for my headaches, the line for fishing. But Poirot found a medical journal page, circled, describing a sedative gas that could incapacitate in seconds. Could such a gas pass through the slit, monsieur? Poirot asked. Fairfax paled, insisting the vault's lack of vents made it impossible. A red herring. The torn prescription note was for a patient's tonic, not poison. But the fibers matched to his line was undeniable. Had Fairfax devised a method Poirot hadn't yet grasped? Back at the exchange, Poirot and Japp compiled the clues. The pearl tied Lady Victoria to the vault, but her prior visit was plausible. The silk thread linked Voss, but her delivery explained it. The fingerprint on Thorne's code suggested a third party. The cigarette butt pointed to Beaumont, but it could have been tossed earlier. The fishing line and ether scent implicated Fairfax, but the method remained elusive. The forged note, "The fatal secret dies with me," was confirmed as written under duress, its ink inconsistent with Sir Reginald's pen. The poisoned tisane, traced to Beaumont's contacts, suggested a desperate killer, but the anonymous letter about the forged will pointed to a broader conspiracy, possibly tied to the missing merger page. A new twist emerged. A jeweler's receipt, found in the vault's desk drawer, showed Sir Reginald purchasing a pearl choker identical to Lady Victoria's, but for another woman. Was this the betrayal in the anonymous letter? Poirot's mind raced. The scarf's knot, requiring skill, ruled out no suspect, as all knew the silk exchange knot. The fiber in the slit suggested a tool, but the slit's size limited possibilities. The ether scent, though compelling, lacked a delivery method. And the poisoned tisane, had it been a warning or a test? Poirot gathered the suspects in the boardroom, the storm's roar shaking the chandelier above. "Mes amis," he said, his voice a blade of calm. "Your lies are unraveling. The pearl, the thread, the fiber, the note stormed to its zenith, its fury battering London with relentless rain and wind that seemed to echo the turmoil within the silk exchange. The grand hall, once a stage for elegance, now felt like a pressure cooker, its tapestries of silk roots swaying slightly in the drafts. Hercule Poirot stood in the vault's antechamber, his small frame unyielding against the chaos, his gray eyes sharp as he pieced together the fragments of the impossible crime. Sir Reginald Hargrove's strangulation by a Persian silk scarf in a locked, bolted vault had defied explanation. But the clues, the pearl, the silk thread, the fishing line fiber, the forged note, the desk scratch were converging. The suspects were at their limits, and Poirot knew the breaking point was near. The morning erupted with a breakthrough. Inspector Japp stormed into the boardroom, his coat dripping, clutching a bundle of silk bales from Amelia Voss's warehouse. "Opium, Poirot," he barked. Hidden in the false bottoms, enough to sink the exchange. Traces matched the residue in the vault's special handling bale. Voss, dragged back from the docks, her shawl soaked, collapsed into a chair. "Reginald forced me into it," she cried, her voice breaking. "He threatened my family's business." Her flight the previous day now seemed like panic, but Poirot noted a new bruise on her wrist, self-inflicted or from a struggle. The alliance with Thorne was exposed. A letter in her warehouse detailed their plan to undermine Sir Reginald's merger, but not murder. "We wanted exposure, not death," Thorne interjected, his spectacles cracked from stress. A twist, the opium link tied to Dr. Fairfax's clinic, where a patient log showed deliveries disguised as medical supplies. Poirot confronted Lady Victoria Hargrove in the rose garden, where rain-soaked petals clung to the ground like fallen secrets. The jeweler's receipt for the duplicate pearl choker implicated her in a deeper betrayal. It was herring. The garrote wire was confiscated, but unused. Dr. Leonard Fairfax cracked in his clinic, surrounded by vials and journals. The fishing line fiber in the vault slit matched his exactly, and a hidden compartment in his bag revealed a thin tube, perfect for inserting through the slit. "For medical samples," he stammered, but Poirot's nose detected fresh ether. A patient testified to Fairfax arguing with Sir Reginald over opium debts days before. "He knew my secrets," Fairfax muttered, his gaunt face crumbling. The medical journal's circled page on gaseous sedatives was damning, but the vault's sealed nature puzzled Poirot. A twist. Fairfax's log showed he treated Thorne for stress, linking him to the accountant's forged ledgers. Elias Thorne's facade shattered in the library. The fingerprints on the vault code fragments were traced to a glove in his desk, his own, but worn inside out, suggesting planting. "Someone framed me," he shouted, but Poirot found a silk knot practice cord in his drawer, identical to the murder weapon's tie. His alliance with Voss was mutual protection, but a whispered confession to Japp revealed Thorne had seen Fairfax near the vault stairs that night. "He slipped something through the slit," Thorne accused. The ink on the forged note matched Thorne's pen, but pressure marks indicated coercion. The suspects converged in the boardroom, the storm's fury mirroring their desperation. Poirot paced, his cane tapping like a metronome. "The breaking point is here," he declared. "The opium ties you all. Voss smuggling, Fairfax's supplies, Thorne's ledgers hiding losses, Beaumont's investments funding it, Lady Victoria's silence bought by gifts." Accusations flew. Voss blamed Fairfax. Thorne pointed at Beaumont. Lady Victoria wept, accusing no one. A final twist. The desk scratch in the vault was analyzed, revealing pulley marks. A hidden mechanism in the drawer, rigged with line to tighten the scarf. Poirot's mind raced. The ether tube through the slit, the ghosts of unresolved secrets. The silk exchange, its Art Deco grandeur battered by rain, stood as a silent witness to the drama unfolding within. The boardroom, lit by flickering chandeliers, was a stage for the final act, its tapestries of ancient silk roots seeming to pulse with anticipation. Hercule Poirot stood at the head of the polished table, his small frame commanding, his gray eyes gleaming with the certainty of truth. The five suspects, Lady Victoria Hargrove, Elias Thorne, Amelia Voss, Captain Harold Beaumont, and Dr. Leonard Fairfax, sat before him, their faces a gallery of fear, defiance, and desperation. Inspector Japp stood by the door, his notebook poised, ready to arrest the killer Poirot would name. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice a calm blade cutting through the tension. "We have woven a complex web in this affair. The murder of Sir Reginald Hargrove, strangled by a Persian silk scarf in a locked vault. An impossible crime. The clues, the pearl, the silk thread, the fishing line fiber, the forged note, the poisoned tisane, the desk scratch, have led us through shadows of deception. But now, the little gray cells of Hercule Poirot have unraveled the knot. The killer is among you, and the truth will be revealed." Poirot paced slowly, his cane tapping a deliberate rhythm. "Let us begin with the crime itself. Sir Reginald was found in the vault, bolted from within. No entry or exit possible. The scarf tied with the silk exchange knot was his own, a gift to each of you, yet used to strangle him. The note, the fatal secret dies with me, was forged, its ink and pressure betraying coercion. The pearl, the thread, the fiber, the pulley marks, all pointed to a method both cunning and precise. But first, the motives." He turned to Lady Victoria, her velvet ribbon tight around her neck. "Madame, your husband's affairs, romantic and financial, gave you reason to hate him. The pearl from your choker found at crime, and the poisoned tisane came from your contacts. But the garrote wire was irrelevant. and your absence from the balcony was brief. Finally, Dr. Fairfax, his gaunt face sweating. Monsieur Fairfax, your opium dealings, ether scent, and fishing line fiber were damning. The missing sedative vial and medical journals suggested a method. But the vault's sealed nature seemed to defy your means. Until now. Poirot stopped, his eyes locking on Fairfax. The killer is you, Dr. Leonard Fairfax. The fatal secret was not Sir Reginald's opium trade, but your own. A murder, years ago, of a patient who died under your care, covered up as an accident. Sir Reginald knew and blackmailed you to silence your exposure of his smuggling. You killed to protect your secret. The room gasped, Fairfax's hands clutching his medical bag. Impossible, he cried, but Poirot raised a hand. Let us unravel the method, mes amis, for it is ingenious. The vault was locked, bolted from within. How? Fairfax used a thin tube, inserted through the viewing slit, to release ether gas from his medical supplies, rendering Sir Reginald unconscious. The scarf, pre-placed in the merger documents during a prior visit, was rigged with a fishing line looped through a hidden pulley in the desk drawer, revealed by the scratch marks. Fairfax, stationed outside the slit, pulled the line, tightening the scarf's knot around Sir Reginald's neck. The bolt? Sir Reginald engaged it himself before succumbing to the gas. The note, forged in his hand, was slipped through the slit post-mortem, a final misdirection. Poirot continued, his voice steady. The clues confirm it. The fishing line fiber in the slit matches Fairfax. The ether scent, faint but present, aligns with his medical journal's notes on gaseous sedatives. The tube, found in his bag, fits the slit perfectly. The knot, a silk exchange knot, was known to all, but Fairfax's fishing hobby gave him the dexterity to rig it. The poisoned tisane had calmed its fury. Poirot's cane tapped once. Final. The little gray cells have spoken. Order is restored. Chapter 10. Threads of Justice. The storm that had ravaged London for days began to subside on the seventh morning, its clouds parting to reveal a pale sun filtering through the fog. The Silk Exchange, its Art Deco spires glistening with raindrops, stood renewed, as if the truth had washed away its shadows. The Grand Hall, once a scene of chaos and suspicion, now hummed with a subdued energy. Police officers cataloging evidence, staff whispering of the scandal, and the tapestries of silk roots catching the light like symbols of enduring trade. Hercule Poirot stood by a window, his small frame silhouetted against the clearing sky, his gray eyes reflective. The impossible murder of Sir Reginald Hargrove, strangled in a locked vault by a Persian silk scarf, had been solved, and justice, like a finely woven thread, was about to be served. In the boardroom, Dr. Leonard Fairfax sat slumped, his gaunt face ashen, his medical bag confiscated as evidence. Inspector Japp read the charges: murder, opium smuggling, and attempted poisoning. Fairfax's confession, extracted in the wake of Poirot's revelation, had been a torrent of remorse and rage. Sir Reginald held my past over me like a noose, he muttered, his voice hollow. The patient's death, an overdose I covered up. He threatened to expose it unless I aided his smuggling. When he planned to reveal everything in the merger announcement, I had no choice. The room was silent. The other suspects, Lady Victoria Hargrove, Elias Thorne, Amelia Voss and Captain Harold Beaumont, watching with a mix of relief and horror. Poirot addressed them, his voice calm and precise. "Mes amis, the web is unraveled." Dr. Fairfax's method was ingenious. Ether gas through the viewing slit to subdue Sir Reginald. A fishing line rigged through a pulley in the desk drawer to tighten the pre-placed scarf. The bolt engaged by the victim himself. The forged notes slipped through post draped loosely. Managed a faint smile. "My flight was foolish, but the opium," Poirot interrupted gently. "Trace to Fairfax's clinic deliveries. Your thread from the bail delivery, your knot skill unused. Cleared, though your trade will face scrutiny." Captain Beaumont's scar twitched less fiercely. "The tisane, the map. I was desperate." Poirot acknowledged. "Your contacts delivered the poison, but at Fairfax's anonymous hire. The cigarette incidental, your map for investments. Cleared, but your debts remain." Japp led Fairfax away, his confession sealing his fate. The doctor's eyes met Poirot's, a flicker of defeat. "You're too clever, monsieur," he whispered. Poirot's mustache twitched. "It is not cleverness, but order. The little gray cells demand it." As Fairfax was taken to Scotland Yard, the boardroom emptied, the suspects dispersing with warnings and relief. The silk exchange would endure, its secrets safer, though scarred by the scandal. Poirot lingered in the vault, now open and aired, its steel walls cold but no longer imprisoning. He examined the desk one last time, the pulley scratch a testament to Fairfax's cunning. The merger documents, intact save the missing page revealing Fairfax's patient murder link, would be handed to authorities. The opium bales from Voss's warehouse, the vials from Fairfax's clinic, all evidence of a tangled empire. Poirot reflected on the motives. Betrayal for Lady Victoria, embezzlement for Thorne, revenge for Voss, ruin for Beaumont, blackmail for Fairfax. Only one had crossed into murder. Outside, the fog lifted, revealing London's bustling streets. Poirot met Japp at the exchange's steps. "Another case closed, eh, Poirot?" Japp grinned. "You and your gray cells. How do you do it?" Poirot smiled modestly. "Method, Inspector, and a tisane to calm the nerves." They parted, Japp to paperwork, Poirot to his apartment at Whitehaven Mansions. In the days that followed, the silk exchange rebounded. Lady Victoria assumed chairmanship, vowing transparency. Thorne reformed the ledgers. Voss negotiated legal trade routes. Beaumont sought new investments. Fairfax